Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Raceface TV. Tonight, we've got a very special program headed your way. Our first segment, we're going to be going down to, I shouldn't say down to, we're going to be going up to North Carolina to talk to my good friend Tom Baker at Race Chaser Online. And then our second segment, we're going to have NASCAR developer Lorin Ranier and young 13-year-old superstar Sam Mayer is going to be joining us in the second segment, and we're really excited about that. But right now, let's go down and let's get Tom on board. Tom, are you there?
I am. How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you this evening?
Fantastic. It's good to be back with you on Raceface and looking forward to a show.
So what's new in the race hub of Charlotte?
Well, I mean, obviously, we're getting closer and closer to the 10 days of NASCAR Thunder here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, but we've got to get through Kansas weekend first. But the area is already preparing for that. But I think the big story of the weekend was probably Ricky Stenhouse getting his first win, and just the way that he did that, pretty much dominating the weekend at Talladega. Great win for a driver who has always been thought of as being young and talented, and is not quite as young as he once was, but still young enough to be considered one of the future stars, I think, of NASCAR. And I thought it was great to see Roush Fenway finally getting a win after such a drought that they've had. I think that's good for the sport, and certainly was good to see Ricky finally break through and get the first Cup win. He's been after that for a long time, and it was well-deserved, I thought.
Absolutely. You know, the unique thing about that is how many drivers actually get their first win at Talladega. I mean, he was on a pretty impressive list of other drivers that have done that down there, and I guess it's you know, the old saying, you got to be around at the end, so you just try to survive. But Ricky was pretty dominant all day long. I mean, he was always running up front, made the right moves at the right time, and blocked at the right time, too. Because I'll tell you what, I would imagine from turn 4 to the finish line, I doubt if he was even looking out the front of his car. He was probably driving through that rearview mirror.
Yeah, you would think. And, you know, Kyle Busch certainly had a good shot at it, and I thought it was kind of a funny quip in the post-race press conference when he said, I think I probably gained a whole bunch of new fans because I beat the 18 car. But a really, really good race. It was a great race to the finish, and Ricky really deserved that win. And, you know, again, a driver who's won in all kinds of open wheel cars and go-karts and a number of different things, former ARCA champion, and, you know, just has a couple of back then it was, I think, Xfinity or Nationwide Series titles. You know, he's really just been kind of in a situation side of things where the team has been searching for answers for, you know, a few years now. And he and Trevor Bayne are finally starting to show signs of being real contenders now. And I think this win has got to be a huge boost to that team. And, you know, certainly Ricky, a driver who did not bring a lot of money with him up the ladder. I mean, he had to do it the hard way. He got noticed by the right people and had opportunities to drive cars. He made the most of them and got race wins, and that's how he ended up where he is.
Yeah, I can remember back, you know, where I think Jack literally set him on the sidelines for a little bit because he was tearing up so much equipment. But he's definitely turned into, you know, to a top-notch driver. And I agree with you. It's good to see Roush Fenway back in winner's circle. It's been a long time coming. But I think there was some pretty exciting things going on up in the Northeast with the K&N series too.
Yeah, I had a great time Saturday at South Boston Speedway. The K&N Pro Series East was running. They had the chance to go check that out. Really cool, and a couple of unique things. South Boston has just repaved their surface this year, so we knew we were going to see a track record. The old K&N Pro Series East track record was 15.5 and some change. The track record now is 14.6 and some change. Chase Cavery, the rookie driver in the diversity program for Rev Racing, was the driver who ended up with the pole and had 2 real strong runs in each features. Great to see Chase in his first year in the K&N series. One of the Florida drivers, of course, his older brother Colin has already been a winner in K&N Pro Series East, and you know, Chase certainly did well for himself at South Boston. But the 2 winners of the races, Vinnie Miller in the MDM Motorsports number 40 picked up the win in the first race, and MDM got the second race win too when Harrison Burton crossed the line first after kind of a crazy last couple of laps. So both of those drivers, MDM Motorsports won 3 races in the span of about 4 or 5 hours on Saturday, because Justin Haley also won the ARCA race at Talladega, his first ever super speedway start, and he was with MDM. So that team basically hit the lotto on Saturday.
Absolutely. And, our guest that's coming up in that second segment, Lorin Ranier, has been, very involved with that MDM motorsports program. So I know it was a great weekend there. But, there's just a lot of things going on. Again, we're seeing that youth movement throughout the country. I know that we talked a little bit last week about Sheldon Creed, and I know Sheldon is actually racing down in Atlanta in a Trans Am race this weekend, and he just came back from Australia with the super trucks over there, and I think he won both races while he was over in Australia. So again, every week we talk about that youth movement and how these drivers are getting notarized, and we know there's a lot of young drivers, watching out there today. So, Tom, let me ask you something. You've been around the sport for a long time. So, how does a young driver today put himself in the position to be able to go out and do the things that Harrison Burton and the young Haley driver that run in the ARCA race this weekend, and what Sheldon Creed, and we're going to be talking to young 13-year-old Sam Mayer here in the second segment. So I think we've talked about it multiple times before. It's all about branding. It's about going out and making sure that you get noticed. So what's your take on that?
Well, you're right. I mean, and there are a lot of different ways of going about that, but I think the three most important things are, you have to be a winner. You have to be winning and running up front in whatever it is that you're racing, and running well. And I think the second ingredient is you have to have a good, strong marketing program. You have to have a website. You have to have, social media content, things like that. All those things serve to basically introduce you and your race team and what you're doing to a much wider audience than those who see you at the track. And of course, then it also serves as a way for you to be able to have that audience to bring to a potential sponsor. And, there are really no shortcuts anymore in this sport. It used to be if you were talented enough to find somebody to give you an opportunity. And the reality of today's motorsports landscape now is that you do still have to have the talent, but you also have to be able either to bring a sponsor to, the operation, or you need to be marketable enough to be able to attract that sponsor. And so, it's really a situation where I think you have to learn as a driver both how to race the car at a championship level, but also how to be marketable at a championship level as well. And you have to put as much time into your marketing as you do into learning to be a race car driver these days if you want to succeed. And those who are willing to do that, there are sponsors out there, and you're seeing every day sponsors hooking up with race teams. But you have to work hard for it. You have to have the right program and the right people around you to be able to guide you in that direction.
I agree 100%, Tom. And it does really start at the younger age. I think the sooner that you can start to create your brand, the sooner that you can start connecting with fans, building that fan base, the better chances that you have when it gets to the point where maybe that private funding that is taken to maybe run in the karts and legend cars and bandoleros and stuff like that. I mean, once you start to step into even the super late model series, and definitely from the K&N into the ARCA series, that check gets pretty large that you gotta write. So we just encourage our young drivers who are watching to start branding yourself now. And I think you're going to hear something from us probably closer to the end of the month about a way that Raceface is going to be able to actually step out and help you do that. And we're pretty excited about that because, in our second segment, we talked about having young driver Sam Mayer on board. And Sam just become a driver for Raceface brand development. And we're extremely excited about that. So we got Ronnie Vargas, which is out in the California area. We've got Sam Mayer, and we've got a couple more drivers that we're going to be talking about hopefully next week that have joined our program, and we're really excited about that. So, Tom, I know we just got a few minutes left. Anything that you want to share with the viewing audience that's going to be going on out there that is really going to be dominated about young drivers? And I know, if I got this right from you, the Big Legends Series is starting out at Charlotte when, at the beginning of June?
Yeah, the Bojangles Summer Shootout Series at Charlotte Motor Speedway that runs on the quarter mile is going to be starting. I think it's either the first or second week in June, and that runs for 8 weeks for the Legends of the Bandoleros. I think MAV TV is carrying a condensed version of each week's events again this year, and so that's a big deal for the Legends and Bandolero drivers. And the other event that's always fun is the big open event that goes on at Millbridge Speedway, which is a little 6-mile oval dirt track here just outside of the Mooresville area during the Charlotte Race Week. It's the Tuesday and Wednesday of Charlotte Race Week, and if you're in town for that, you really need to come and check this out. They'll have about 100 cars in the open division, open mini outlaw division, and you'll see guys like Kyle Larson and Tanner Thorson and Rico Abreu and guys like that running against local drivers in those classes. And it's always a fun night. BillbridgeSpeedway.com if you want more info on that. But those are the two big events that we're gearing up for here. Always have fun with those. And of course, all of the goings on at Charlotte Motor Speedway with the All-Star Race and the big NASCAR weekend that follows over Memorial Weekend too.
Right. Well, I'm going to surprise you because I'm going to show up out there sometime towards the beginning of June and come out and spend some time with you. So everybody make sure to stay tuned in. We're going to be right back with our special guest. Again, NASCAR development specialist Lorin Ranier and young 13-year-old racing phenomenon Sam Mayer. We're going to be right back.
Percent of consumers search online before even setting foot in a store. We help you create a strong foundation for your digital reputation. We help build your online presence to improve search engine rank and make sure your business information is correct across the web. You could do all of this on your own, but why would you spend more than 300 hours a year working on this? You have a business to run. Save time and put our software to work for you.
The Edge, Fridays at noon. If you're an entrepreneur looking for cutting-edge information, tips, tricks, secrets, expert interviews, it's all here at The Edge. Anything you need to build your business, this is the show to listen to. It's The Edge. Check us out Fridays at noon.
Well, welcome back, everyone. And gosh, you know what? I'm so excited to have our next two guests with us. We're going to be going to Charlotte, North Carolina. We're going to be bringing in Lorin Ranier, and we're going to go up to Wisconsin where we've got young Sam Mayer. But before we do that, I want to share a short little video with you.
Welcome back. Imagine flying out of town nearly every weekend to fuel your racing dreams. Now imagine being 13 years old and balancing the books to do that. We introduce you to rising star Sam Mayer.
During the week, Sam Mayer is a 13-year-old 8th grader at Hales Corners Lutheran. On weekends, he turns into Sam Mayer, the racer.
Here and there's some people that are like, wow, that's crazy. How you're doing that?
He's barely a teen, but Sam has big goals.
I like to take this to NASCAR.
And he's mature beyond his years.
It definitely takes like the mental strength to do it, like to be confident like in missing school and being able to keep up with it.
But he's a true student with interviews.
Getting used to like answering questions without like stuttering or saying like.
And getting mostly A's.
My teachers are really good about keeping me up with my schoolwork and like giving me my homework before I go on my trip so I can do it while I'm on my trip.
Just make sure you remember the name correctly.
People call me Meyer. Like when I was first getting into karting, I was referred to as Meyer like every time I went out on the track. I won 50% of my races one weekend, and in e-karting news they said that I was the mayor of Mooresville, so that kind of got my name out there more.
Somehow I think we're going to hear about Sam Mayer plenty in the future.
Hey guys, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having us.
All right. How are you doing tonight, Sam?
I'm doing well.
Well, good, man. Good to have you on board. So you're coming to us where at in Wisconsin?
Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I know Lorin's in Charlotte, North Carolina. So, Sam, I got a quick question for you. How long have you actually been racing? When did you get started?
This will be my 10th year. I started when I was 4, so.
Started when you were 4, man. I don't know a whole lot of kids that start when they're 4 years old, but that's what it takes today, right, Lorin, to get started at that young age?
Well, it does take you need to start at an early age. I mean, 4 is really pushing it, I would say, but starting early, learning the basics of racing early definitely gives you an advantage, no question about it.
So, Sam, you're 13 now, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what's been going on this year so far? What races have you competed in, and how have you been finishing?
Earlier in the year, like in January, February, we were down in Charlotte, North Carolina, doing the winter heat in the legend cars. After that, we went down to Florida and over to Vegas, along with Texas, to do some more legend cars. Then we got into the late model and went down to Greenville twice, and one of those I won.
Well, I know that. I saw all the breaking news about that, and I know, Lorin, you can comment on that. That what a historic racetrack there in Greenville Pickens Speedway. I think probably anybody who's everybody has actually raced at that track sometime in their NASCAR career.
Well, it is a historic place and a really neat place to have your first stock car race with the history of the place, and then Sam being able to win his first race is kind of historic as well. Pretty hard to do right out of the box when your first stock car race. But he's been kind of setting records and legends all year this year with the Winter Heat Championship, and then he had basically he's only lost a couple of races this year. And so he's been kind of tearing it up in the Legends car, and then now we're starting to phase into the stock car stuff. Actually, starting this weekend, he's going to another historic track at Hickory, North Carolina, and he's going to run a limited late model there. And he's going to run the limited up until June and his birthday, and then after he turns 14, then he can go ahead and run full late models after he turns 14. So that's kind of what we're gearing up for is the late model stuff, and really it'll start in July, and then he can hit it pretty hard from that point on.
So, Sam, I got a quick question for you. What's it like working with Lorin? I mean, you gotta know that he's worked with some of the best drivers in the industry. So, what does it feel like to get to work with somebody like him?
Knowing Lorin, he's a really good development person. He knows what he's doing and knows when to move people up to the next step. Being with him has helped me a lot. Just getting through all the legends and getting into stock cars now. He's just given me the right path to go up to the Cup.
Well, that's pretty cool. So I know you've gotten to race in a whole lot of different places. Do you have one that sticks out as your favorite place to go race at?
Well, for the legend cars, we went over to Dominion in Virginia for the Road Course Nationals in the legend car. It's 2.5 miles, and I liked it a lot. I ended up placing second there. It's just it's so fast. You hit 135, and I just thought that was my favorite track of all time.
So, Lorin, I got another question for you. What did you see in Sam? What made you get kind of drawn to him, and what's that little edge that he may have over maybe some other drivers that are out there?
Well, there's a couple things. I got introduced to Sam when he was 11 by a good friend of our mutual friend that we have. And so at that point, I didn't really know, other than I knew that he was one of the top junior karters in the country. And that's a very competitive level of racing. There's thousands of junior karters in the country, and Sam was at the top level of the juniors, 10, 11, 12-year-old kids. And that's very competitive throughout the country. So I knew that coming down here, you had a lot of ability. It's just a matter of could that ability translate? Could we get him going into oval racing? And we felt like the Legends car would be the best place for him to make a transition from karting to cars. So once we did the first Legends test, I was like 11 years old. I was like, well, this kid definitely has talent to drive a race cars. Absolutely no question about that. So we just kind of let him go through the learning curve. You know, the first year it took him a little bit to get up to where he could run in the top 5, and then kind of once he did that, he started to break through and started to win, and now he's winning, you know, basically everywhere he goes against the young line division. That's kids under 16. So he's basically the best young lines Legends racer in the country. So his progression went really fast from, you know, a top junior karter to the top Legends driver at his level. So that went pretty fast. So we're hoping that we can do the same thing in late models and let his progression go right, you know, the same speed and the same way up. And I think, you know, so far so good. We've made some pretty good decisions, and he's in good cars with good teams, and so we're happy with where he is right now at his stage of development at 13 years old.
Well, that's got to be exciting for you, Sam. Let me ask you something. What was the biggest change for you, or the biggest adjustment that you had to make the first time you got out of that Legend car and then stepped into that late model car? What was that like?
The biggest thing was probably the power steering. Just getting used to the bigger car too, like getting used to getting that close to the wall in that big of a car because it's so much wider. You have to get used to like where you are on the racetrack. Like same with like at Greenville, there's an inside wall going through the corner. You have to get used to hitting that wall like every time consistently and smoothly, because if you do that, you're fast.
Well, you could be like Kyle Larson. You could go through and scrape it every time you go by. I'm not sure that'd make the car owner real happy, but so I know, Sam, that your dad has played a big part in your racing career and moving forward. And could you share a little bit what, you know, how supportive that your dad has been and helping you to be able to progress?
He started me like in the karting and got me to Badger Kart Club, the local racetrack. After that, I got picked up by a karting team, and I started going all over the world with them, all over the country. Like we went over to World Nationals in France, Le Mans, France, and ever since then, I've just been getting more and more like used to the cars as I kept going through the steps. But the late models have definitely been a change for me.
So what's it like? I mean, you're 13 years old, you're flying all over the country. One weekend you're here, the next weekend you're there. I mean, how are you balancing all of that with your schoolwork and different things like that? I know the video we saw at the beginning talked a little bit about that, but is that a challenge for you to try to kind of balance your life out right now when you're basically traveling all over the country?
It is very hard. Like just getting used to like leaving like every Thursday or even Friday, or being gone like all week. It's a challenge, but I go to a really like good school that understands like what I'm doing, and they support me through like all my racing and stuff.
Well, Lorin, I know that you've got to be excited about working with him. And what do you see if you had your crystal ball sitting there in front of you? Where do you see Sam at in the next few years?
Well, he's got a long road to go, you know, if we're going to do this right. And then, you know, and then a lot of it's up to him, you know, really as far as how he progresses in these, as we move up with these series, you know, he'll go from late models, you know, late model stocks to super late models, then hopefully on into K&N and ARCA short track racing. So, you know, we'll make decisions then on how his next steps look. And then obviously he can't do anything in the top 3 NASCAR series until he turns 18 years old. So, you know, we're several years away from that. So the development process for Sam's is going to be in full force over the next 3 or 4 years. So, you know, ultimately when he turns 18, we'd like to see him in the NASCAR Truck Series or the Xfinity Series. And then at that point, then it's just, it's going to be seriously up to him to if he makes that next step beyond that. So a lot of short track racing is going to happen in the next 3 or 4 years with what he's doing. right now.
Well, Sam, it sounds like you've got a bright future in front of you. I want to thank both of you guys for coming on with us tonight. The one thing we'd like to announce is that Sam is now a part of the Raceface brand development. We're very, very excited to be working with you, Sam, moving forward. I know we're going to have a great time with each other. So again, I want to thank both of you for being on the show tonight. And we're actually going to end the show up a little bit tonight, Sam. We're probably going to show you some pictures of Lorin Ranier back in the day that you may have never seen before. So again, guys, I want to thank you for being on the show. And everybody, keep in mind, Raceface every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Time at mnotv.com. Make sure to go to our Facebook page, like our page, share it with someone else, and we'll see you back here next Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. Guys, have a great evening.